She was last in the primary. She was the first one to drop out of like 22 people. And now I'm running against her. Now, I don't mind. I have a feeling that if they left Joe in, by the time it's finished, because she's dropping like a rock now, because she's actually forced to speak. Because she's behind, she's forced to go on and she's speaking. And because she's speaking, people are realizing she's a dumb person. And we can't have another dumb president. We've had enough.
There are those who are unable to see what can be, but there are many more who are able to see what can be unburdened by what has been.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically that's wrong.
And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid.
You know, there's this whole, I talked with somebody once who said, you know, if you just look at where the stars are in the sky, don't look at them as just random things if you just look at them as points.
Kamala Harris doesn't talk about policies is because she doesn't actually have any, or at least the one she has, she's plagiarised from Trump himself. It was Trump who came up with the idea of removing taxes from tips. Kamala Harris now has adopted that policy. It was Trump who came up with a child tax credit of $5,000. Kamala then announced a child tax credit of $6,000. And of course, it was Trump who wanted to build a wall. And now Kamala claims that she will build a wall. But it's not just policies that she's plagiarising. She's also plagiarising other people's writing. Her 2009 book, Smart on Crime, which details her great successes and her philosophy as a prosecutor, contains large chunks lifted not just from other authors, but even lifted from Wikipedia. J.D. Vance called her out. Have a listen.
I saw today, actually, a story that Kamala Harris apparently copied some significant chunks of her book from Wikipedia. So if you want a president with their own ideas, vote for Donald Trump. If you want a president who copies her own ideas from Wikipedia, vote for Kamala Harris.
Now, I should point out, Caleb and Liz, Kamala Harris has said she will respond to those allegations as soon as her team loads somebody else's words into her teleprompter.
Look, it's true that if this woman had an independent thought, it would die of loneliness. Because this is what she does, right? She can do very well as long as she's reading from a teleprompter, much like Joe Biden, actually. So no change there. But here's some of the read receipts that people have dug out. In the left-hand column, you see there her book, an excerpt from her book. And on the right hand, you see where she got it from. In many cases, it is word for word.
There's a lot of people that look back at what you said in 2019 when you first ran for president. And there have been changes, and you've talked about some of them. When it comes to immigration, you supported allowing immigrants in the country illegally to apply for driver's license, to qualify for free tuition at universities, to be enrolled in free health care. Do you still support those things?
Listen, that was 5 years ago, and I'm very clear that I will follow the law. I have made that statement over and over again, and as Vice President of the United States, that's exactly what I've done, not to mention before.
If that's the case, you chose a running mate, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, who signed those very things into state law. So do you support that?
We are very clear, and I am very clear, as is Tim Walz, that we must support and enforce federal law, and that is exactly what we will do.
Would you still advocate for using taxpayer dollars for gender reassignment
surgeries? I will follow the law, just as I think Donald Trump would say he did.
You would have a say as president.
Like I said, I think he spent $20 million on those ads, trying to create a sense of fear in the voters because he actually has no plan.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
I noticed.
And so that would be one change in terms of... But also, I think it's important to say with, 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump.
So you're not Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you would do differently?
Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency.
Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years, so what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we've been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country and have Americans literally point fingers at each other. Rhetoric and an approach to leadership that suggests that the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down instead of what we all know. The strength of leadership is based on who you lift up. The strength of an American president, which is one who understands that the vast majority of us have more in common than what separates us.
Madam Vice President, more than 70% of people
that is
tell
about
pollsters,
turning the page on rhetoric that people are frankly exhausted of, Brett.
More than 70% of people tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you call Donald Trump, he's misguided. You say now
he's
unstable.
He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Which foreign country do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
I think there's an obvious one in mind, which is Iran. Iran has American blood on their hands, okay? This attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles. What we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power, that is one of my highest priorities.
A number of experts thought you would say China. The FBI director had said that. But you said Iran. If that's the case, what do you say to critics who look at the actions of your administration and say you're not acting like Iran is the #1 threat?
Well, oh, you guys are at the wrong rally. No, I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street.